Let's switch over to another series where Ford is not exactly having the greatest of seasons either. The Repco Supercars series. One of the big things, of course, for the Repco Supercar series, we have Broc Feeney. He's in a Chevrolet. He's trying to chase down his teammate in the standings, Will Brown. Well, this was the perfect weekend for him. The Darwin Triple Crown. Broc Feeney won race one yesterday, and guess what? Race two, he took the pole. He led from the start, had a really great start ahead of Brody Kosecki, who was outside of row one, to the point where Will Brown, who was in the second row, got around to take second place. James Golding, who was the pole sitter for race one, was in the second row in the fourth position. But Broc Feeney, nobody could catch him. He got the win. Great start. That was a big key difference. Pit stops, pretty straightforward, and overall, just really no competition for him. Will Brown, second place. That was a big best he could do really this weekend, and he held on to make it where for Triple Eight racing, top two positions in the weekend. Stunning display of skill by Broc Feeney, who swept the weekend. It's really weird, Kobe. The Triple Crown was only two races. We know with this new format for the Supercar series, we didn't have the three races like last year, but still, Broc Feeney, 2 years in a row, he is the Darwin Triple Crown winner. I have to ask you, could this be the turning point for Broc to apply more pressure to his teammate Will Brown for the championship?
Yeah, it's kind of weird. We only had two races this weekend, and they're calling it the Triple Crown. If you don't have three races, is it really a Triple Crown? So I guess we'll just call it the Darwin Double because that's exactly what it was. And we know Broc Feeney, his nickname is Mr. Sunday, but this weekend, Mr. Sunday, he became the weekend because he was absolutely dominant this weekend. And in a class of his own, Broc Feeney, it seems like that he's really starting to cook now and get that momentum that he's needing to take the fight to his teammate Will Brown in the championship. I think this is shaping up to be an incredible championship battle between the Red Bull Ampol Triple Eight race and teammates Will Brown and Broc Feeney moving forward, because let's be fair, it's just a two-horse race for this championship right now between Feeney and Brown, because everyone else is just playing catch-up, and these two are in completely a league of their own. And lately, it seems like Will Brown is cooling off a little bit. He's still very strong and consistent, but Broc Feeney seems to have taken a step ahead of his teammate right now, and I believe that sweeping the weekend is definitely going to be a turning point for Broc in this championship. And Will Brown, he's going to have to step up his game because Broc Feeney's coming for him.
Coming for him. First time in his career he has gone back to back when it comes to wins. Brody Kosecki, first podium of the year. And this year has been essentially a year of recovery after missing their first handful of races. Race one, didn't get to start it, just bad luck. But now, top 10 finish, check. Podium finish, check. Can Brody Emers get another check mark and contend for a win this year?
Yeah, I think we have enough races under our belts to safely say that Erebus Motorsport is not the same team from last year. Last year, they had an extremely fast car and were one of the contenders week in and week out. And it seems like this year, given all the turmoil that's happened off the track, then all the sponsorships, and then not knowing if Brody was going to be able to race this year or even drive for this team again, this entire organization has taken a huge step back. They're definitely not the same team that they were. But for Kostecki and Erebus to get a podium in race two at Darwin, I think this definitely has to feel like a huge win to them. And to be honest, based on what we've seen from them so far, I didn't think that they even be in contention for a podium finish this year. And I'm sure they probably didn't either. And then, you mentioned Brody not starting race one either. And I'm sure that was very demoralizing for him, and to come out and get a strong result, I think this is only going to build confidence for him and the team moving forward, and shows that maybe, just maybe, they just keep working on things. Maybe they can sneak out a win at the end of the year, because they just really seem completely off this year.
Yeah, they just seem really off this year, not where they were last year. If they get a win, I think they have to say, hey, we got to win. This is a good step, proven we're going the right direction. Keep rebuilding for 2025. Now, there was two bizarre moments in this race. Lap one, Andre Humgarner and the wildcard entry, Cooper Murray, they collided. The tires interlocking. We saw this in race one as well, too, over at essentially the hairpin area for Murray's car. It went on top of Heimgarner's car. This was a really Visually, it looked scary, but of course, both drivers were able to continue on with the race. That brought out the caution for lap 1, and just brought out the second bizarre incident. Lap 4, all the drivers are coming around the final corner to the long front stretch at Darwin, and it seemed like everyone was caught by surprise when the green flag came out. The pace car went into pit road, caution lights went out, and we saw several cars nearly collide in the back of the pack, some taking evasive actions, and then race control. Hey, you got out of line. Several drivers getting penalties. Overall, and curious to hear what everyone in the chat room has to say about this as well too. It just seemed like race control, I don't know what was going on. They just seemed to mishandle the way this all went down, where the drivers from the lead driver to the very back, all of a sudden it's, hey, we're going green again. I don't know what occurred, but this is something where definitely it was one of the big moments of the second race, because at the end of the day, with the penalties, that affected a couple drivers' races. Their race were essentially over from getting in a solid position to being back towards the back, because the rest of the race was pretty much straightforward, caution-free, and Broc Feeney leading the way. These two race formats, sometimes it just feels like, okay, everyone's going to have one pit stop. It's almost, that start is so critical. If you have more cautions, that could spice things up, but if it's caution-free, unless you have a really lousy pit stop or high tire drop-off, you can almost see how the race is going to play out to the very end. And of course, the next race weekend for the Repco Supercar Series is the NTI Townsville 500, July 5th through the 7th. We're going to be looking at Broc Feeney, if he could sweep again.